Hello and thank you for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras here with ILTV's Morning Briefing.
Kachol Party chief Benny Gantz is now in his first week of government negotiations after President Rivlin handed him the official mandate last week. And in efforts to drum up the 61-seat majority that he needs, Gantz is meeting on Sunday with Likud party leader and incumbent Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The two are scheduled to sit down in Tel Aviv, reportedly to discuss various ways to form a secular unity government, and Gantz will apparently offer Netanyahu a sort of compromise that would force him to choose between his 55-member-strong right-wing and religious bloc and sitting first as prime minister in a rotation agreement. Likud has made clear that it will not leave the bloc, though, and so have the right-wing parties when approached by other Kachol members. Still, with less than about 25 days left in his mandate, Gantz is looking for every path available. So on Monday, Gantz and Israel Beitenu leader Avigdor Lieberman will meet, followed by a sit-down Wednesday with Democratic camp head Nitzan Horowitz, and other high-profile meetings are already in the works as well. The only question that remains is, will this be enough? Well, without a strong unity government between Kachol and the Likud, the options are still too few, especially with Lieberman's 8 seats still on the fence. It is now the 11th consecutive day that massive and widespread demonstrations have gripped the nation of Lebanon. Citizens across most of the major population centers are bringing the country to a standstill in protest against the ruling political class, a failing economy, allegations of systemic corruption, impossible tax increases, and the system of government that led to it all when it was put in place 30 years ago. Also, government and related services like banks and schools have all but closed under the pressure, with some protesters calling the movement more of a revolution. But in spite of the demonstrations being the largest seen in decades, they're also largely the most peaceful. In fact, a huge wave of organized civil disobedience can be identified in the countless videos that are hitting social media, like in Beirut, where protesters blocked the roads by lying in the streets and chanted "peaceful, peaceful," even as security forces dragged them out of the way. Or also in Barja, where Muslims prayed in the streets. Violent clashes were only reported in a select few areas where military or police tried to clear the roadways by firing rubber bullets and such into the air. Relatively few people have been wounded or arrested, with most government forces preferring to avoid entering into conflict. Meanwhile, Hezbollah terror chief Hassan Nasrallah is among those opposing the protests, as he explains that while he respects the protesters' voice, the ongoing demonstrations could lead to civil war, which he says Israel and other countries are apparently waiting to take advantage of. Hezbollah is a major political player in Lebanon too, though, so many are taking Nasrallah's words with a bigger pinch of salt than usual. It turns out that Israelis may be praying for rain just a little bit too well in this hot, arid corner of the world, as a rare so-called Mediterranean hurricane, or Medicane, erupted seemingly out of nowhere over the weekend. Massive storms and flash floods drenched the country from top to bottom, and freak lightning storms caused light damages and widespread power outages in the nation's center, mostly in Tel Aviv. But that's far from all of it. Music festival in the Negev was canceled just 2 hours after starting in the Eshkol Regional Council, while a Gaza teen died immediately after being electrocuted outside of his home. 16-year-old Mahmoud El-Belbisi came in contact with an open and live electric pole in the neighborhood. Then, if electrocution wasn't scary enough, it turns out that Israeli drivers fell victim to the weather as well, as a rash of weekend accidents leave over 200 injured and at least 9 dead. Well, the winter is only beginning, and similar weather events are expected between now and the end of the season. So remember to slow down on the roads, seek shelter, and lock down or take inside any loose furniture and such that can become dangerous debris in the storm. Now, while more and more teams make great leaps in Israel's path towards the Summer Olympics in Tokyo 2020, some Israeli athletes are also making headlines in non-Olympic sports. Specifically, Israeli kickboxer YULIA SACHKOV is now an official world champion as she takes home the gold from the latest competition in Sarajevo, Bosnia. And 3 other Israelis also placed second at the World Association of Kickboxing Organizations competition: 19-year-old Shir Cohen, 18-year-old Daniela Pashayev, and 19-year-old Or Moshe. But 21-year-old Sachkov, who placed first in the K1 style under 52-kilo class competition, still takes the cake, telling the Kan Public Radio that this is a dream come true and that everything worked out perfectly.
That's all for now, so follow us on Facebook at Israel English News and of course on Instagram. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.